Welcome to Wednesdays with Willa. I am your host, Willa White, and this is my weekly podcast show that airs on my Facebook page, Willa White Medium, on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern. You can also tune in on the Lilydale Assembly Facebook page, as well as my YouTube channel. And this is year 8 of Wednesdays with Willa, so you got lots of archived videos of past shows that you can binge watch to your heart's content. I've had so many great guests and wonderful topics over the years relating to spiritualism, mediumship, healing, faith, family, and more. And I'm delighted to welcome onto my show today, Karen Noé. Hello, Karen.
Hi there.
Karen is one of our 2025 Lilydale summer season highlights. And for those of you who don't know who she is, she's actually a well-known psychic medium. And she'll be here in Lilydale to share her understandings and what she's learned in her communications with the angels and also with the spirit of Wayne Dyer of great fame. So we'll talk about those things today. Karen is an author. You've written books, and also you have your own podcast, is what I understand. So
Right.
you're able to really educate your viewers and people around the country and the world in the topics of spirit communication, intuition, angels, and so many other great topics. And we're glad that you're going to be here all the way from New Jersey, coming to Lilydale for the summer. So I'll make sure that the link is with this post. So those of you who want to go ahead and get registered for Karen's workshops, you can definitely go to lilydaleassembly.org and type in Karen Noe, and you'll be able to register for her classes online, easy peasy. And I'll make sure I link it for you so it's easy. But you can also visit Karen's website, karennoe.com. So we're going to get right on into our topic today, which is, all about these things about the angels and the ascended masters and the communication beyond. So where should we start today, Karen?
Oh, it's up to you. Wherever you want to take it. A lot of
Sure.
people ask me how I began doing
Yes.
all of this, and I always was able to connect with deceased loved ones. I would have dreams before they happened, all of that. But about 25 years ago, I was going through a difficult time in my life. And I sat at the edge of my bed and I just yelled at God, at the universe, and I said, let me know, am I going to be okay? And with that, I saw a light that came towards me I always cry. So if I cry, just bear with me. That
Okay.
came towards me from the other side of the room. And as it was coming towards me, I said, if you're not of God, please leave. Now, 25 years later, I know everything's of God. It's a different story. We're all connected. But what I meant was, if you're not of the light, of peace and love, please leave. But the more I said that, the more it came towards me and eventually enveloped me, that light. And I experienced the most incredible peace that I had ever felt before or since. And at that time, I heard an audible voice that said, Lucia Lucina, Bella Lucia Lucina. I don't know if there are any Italian listeners here, but it means light, beautiful little light. And I've since learned it was St. Francis of Assisi, who's been guiding and protecting me ever since. And after that experience, I really started connecting with angels and deceased loved ones and so forth. And then years later, my connection with Wayne Dyer, crazy events led up to me meeting his family and so
Oh,
forth.
that is wonderful. And being able to connect with those spiritual support team members and
Mhm.
develop that relationship and develop that trust with them is such an important part of a spiritual journey. And how
Absolutely.
wonderful, Francis Assisi is like, oh,
Yeah.
it's a palpable energy. It's when I felt him myself, I get a gentleness, but I also get like amazing focus. Like
Mm.
is how
Hmm.
I perceived him. He has a kind of laser beam focus.
Yes, and you want to hear something funny? In the beginning of my life, my father used to take me to the racetrack, and I picked the winning horses for him. And now, God bless him, he's 95. He still goes to the track. And he asked me, but now I'm an animal activist. Since then I don't go to the track. I'm a vegan and so forth. But to this day, he still says, Karen, do you want to go to the track? And I say, no, Dad. I don't, but that's the St. Francis connection and so forth.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things where when people get into those habits, right? Those habits
Yeah,
of
he
energy.
loves it. I mean, but not good behind the scenes there with the track, but the horses.
Right, right. But connecting with horse energy and the freedom of that, the symbology is such a beautiful thing if we can take it in that construct, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, how about we talk about the distinction of what it's like to feel a spirit communicator versus an ascended master versus an angel? What does that,
Mm,
what do you sense in terms of the difference in
wow.
vibrational frequency?
Yes. So when a deceased loved one comes through, they feel just like they did when they were here in the physical body. So I think they do that for the living loved one because they actually are at a higher vibration after they leave the physical body. But they do that so the living loved one knows it's them. If they were loud, they're still loud. If like Wayne Dyer, if they were quiet, they're still quiet. They crack jokes, they do all sorts of things like that. So we know it's truly them. And the living loved one usually says, "Yeah, yeah, that's my grandmother, that's my father." Absolutely.
You know, they keep a lot of that same personality, although I have noticed that sometimes they'll show me themselves as version 2.0. After they've shown me the way they were when they were here, if they've developed further, become nicer,
Yes,
then I get version 2.0, which is so nice
that's
to talk
yeah,
to and communicate with in that higher way. And they're usually at their most comforting and understanding version of themselves. So I like that.
absolutely. That's exactly right. After we leave the physical body, we go through that life review where we're able to see how we've affected each person through their eyes, as if
Mhm.
you are the other person. Because in reality, you are. We're all one. So that the when you leave the physical body, the deceased, I don't even like to use that word, but
Yeah.
they are able to see through your eyes. They are able to see through God's eyes, which is only love and only peace.
Yes.
But
But it doesn't mean
they
that they're all seeing and all knowing. It's just that they have a greater understanding of
exactly,
things. Yes.
exactly. Right, right. So I would say if my living loved one is in the room and they say, "What does my mother say about marrying this person?" I said, "Would you listen to her when she was here?" So,
That's right. That's right. Because sometimes they're
whereas,
full of their own
yeah,
opinions.
exactly, exactly. Whereas an angel, when they come through, it's just total love and peace, and they speak in a different level. It's um, it's overwhelming almost. You have to, in my experience, can I share a story?
Absolutely. We
Oh,
love
I love stories.
it.
You have to raise your vibration a little bit more to connect with angels, although they still come to everybody.
True.
Um, but years ago, one of my clients, difficult clients, was telling me about how she hated everybody. She wanted to kill everybody. And, she was just kept saying these types of things. And I remember in my mind, I'm saying, I don't want that. I don't want that, because I don't want to take that energy. I don't want that. I don't want that. But what happens when we say something like that, we're bringing it right into our vibration. It's the law
Mhm.
of attraction. What you're saying no to, you're actually creating more of that. In any case, she had distanced herself from all of her relatives and her friends. And this is very rare because I have such beautiful, loving, positive clients. But this particular, and I'm talking about one,
Yes. One.
one, but it stands out in my mind,
Sure.
difference. And so, anyway, she started treating me with disrespect. And I was like, I was so angry. And at that time, I was still able to connect with deceased loved ones, but I couldn't connect with the angels. I couldn't feel them because I was angry. See, I wasn't on par with the energy of the angels, which is a high, loving, positive energy. And I remember going for a walk with my dog and I'm yelling at the angels and I'm saying, I know you could hear me, but I can't hear you. I know you could hear me, but I can't hear you. And I was guided to look up in the sky and
Mhm.
I saw clouds shaped like an ear with a finger in it. And because I was ranting and raving and I was so upset, I didn't understand what they were trying to tell me, but it was very obvious, right? Later on, I looked
Yeah.
and I said, what does that mean? I want to hear you. I can't hear you.
Right.
And all of a sudden, as I was walking, I started to notice it was springtime, the beautiful flowers that were blooming and the birds in the sky. And I started, as I got closer to my house, to feel the love of my family. And only then was I able to understand what they were telling me.
Mhm.
When I was angry, and we all get that way, so that's okay. But when I was angry and ranting and raving and so upset, it was like I had my finger in my ear. I wasn't able to hear them when they were talking to me. But as soon as I was able to focus on the beauty and love all around me, I was able to communicate and understand what they were saying to me. And we all can do it. It's not just Karen Noé or Willa, right? We all can do this and connect with angels and deceased loved ones and the ascended masters and so forth.
I think that's a great story and a great example of how it matters what attitude we bring to communication. If we're in a mode of demand or anger uh, and being upset, then we're not in that open, receptive. So we have to have a gentle request when we're connecting with spirit loved ones and also with angels. And if I call it the porcupine fortress, if somebody's upset, they're like, nothing's getting through. Somebody could be knocking on the door or ringing the doorbells. They're like, I can't hear you. They're just in that mode. And we've all been there and we've all seen people in that mode too. And so it's almost like the more they're craving connection, the more they are actually keeping it from them because of
Exactly.
their expectations. So people have to manage their expectations and manage their energy at the same time to effectively communicate. So, what a valuable lesson and a
It's
great tip for other people.
absolutely because now I always say it's like tuning into, say you want 3,200 FM on the radio dial, but you're tuning to 1,300 AM. You're not going to hear them. They're a high
Yeah.
vibrating energy, which is mostly peace and love. And we can, of course, connect with them anyway, but it's easier when we're more on par with the energy of who they are.
Yeah, well, if we're in a joyful, centered place, it's much easier to connect with spirit than when we
Hmm.
have an agenda or are meeting people with anger. So it definitely applies for the living and for those in the next, the other side of the veil, as it were.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so in that elevated state of the angels, these are very, for me, it's a distinctively different frequency than talking to someone's spirit loved ones. If they're spirit
Hmm.
loved ones, I can really feel the physicality of things that they would have had, the personality, how they're reactive to things. And there's usually a lot of, banter in certain ways can happen in the course of a reading or a message. But then with angels, there's this kind of solid but effervescent space and
Hmm.
almost a euphoria that I can feel. At
Absolutely.
times, it's like I can feel all this extra sparkle going on. And
Yes.
yeah, it's really glorious. So
Like an
that's how I,
elation, right?
yes,
Elation, and it's big, if I could put it into
right.
words, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then let's make the distinction for them as well as a spirit guide, because some people think that their loved ones in spirit are spirit guides, and I always
Yeah.
consider them to be part of the spiritual support team, but they aren't the guides per se. In the way I've understood it and the way I've always perceived it is that guides come in during certain phases of people's growth.
Hmm.
The teacher you need in first grade is not the one you need in ninth grade. It just depends. But also, some are with you much longer. How would you like to explain that to
You
people and the
said it
distinction of,
perfectly.
oh,
Our loved ones, the deceased loved ones, they're not really our spirit guides, they're our spirit guides help us. They guide us, they protect us. And like you said, they do change throughout our years as we evolve and grow. And they're amazing. And we have everything to gain and nothing to lose if we call upon them. So we
yes,
just have to say, give me a sign. And that's what we could talk about too, are the
sure.
signs. I call them without a doubt signs. that if they can give us a without a doubt sign to let us know they're with us. And then you have to be patient and wait, and the sign will come when you least expect it.
Right. And it won't necessarily be a burning bush,
No,
be biblical
no.
in nature per se, but it can take on more of a smaller form uh, for most people, or something that they have to be open to receiving now. It's like
Mhm.
if you're trying to find it, you can't necessarily see it. But if you really relax and release and you're like, and there it is. It's like a discovery.
Yeah.
There's an awe and wonder that's associated with finding the sign. But then there's the next step. The doubt starts to come into their mind.
No, but I
This
call
is
it without a
a
doubt sign.
coincidence, right? But still, they'll be
And
like,
normally wouldn't
that
happen.
was a coincidence. So how would you tell people to get past that part?
I'll give you some examples, but some examples are they love to play with electricity. Like you're talking about your loved one and you know, all of a sudden the electricity, the lights go on and off. Or it's your birthday and you want to know if your loved one is with you and a car cuts you off and it's their name. Um, their favorite song comes on at the perfect time with the words that you need to hear at the perfect time. There's so many things. They use their energy to come inside of a bird, a ladybug, a dragonfly, a butterfly to let you know they're with you. But this animal will do something that it doesn't normally do, like a butterfly will land on you or peck at your window. Could I share another story? I have so many stories.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I want to tell everyone that they usually come in the same manner as they would when they were here in the physical body. So if somebody was loud, they're still loud. If they were quiet, they're still quiet. So my friend Marion, she was loud and she played practical jokes on everyone and she passed. So after she passed away, and I would tell everyone to do this too, and I know it sounds crazy, but I wrote her a letter telling her how much I loved her and why, because I just needed to get all that out of me, telling her how much I loved her, her good qualities. And at the end of the letter, I said, give me a without a doubt sign to let me know that you're with me and you're aware of what I just wrote to you. So I think it was only 2 days later, maybe three. I was walking down my stairs to put letters in my mailbox. And as I was walking down the stairs, there's a bird in my driveway, a little bird, screaming at the top of its lungs. I mean, when I say screaming, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, and as I'm walking down the driveway to the mailbox, the bird flew to the mailbox. Okay. Birds fly away from us, not to us. And it continued to scream and it landed on my mailbox and I'm looking at it and it's looking at me. And I said, oh my God, Marion, I love you so much. And I'm crying. Oh my God. And I'm crying. I look behind me and my neighbor was looking at me. She thought I have lost my mind. But I had my cell phone in my pocket and I called my son. I said, he was in the house. I said, come outside. Marion's here. And he said, what? I said, just come outside. She's here. And he witnessed the whole thing. Um, Long story short, 2 days later, a mutual friend of Marion and myself posts on Facebook that she was painting. There's so many signs from Marion, so I have to remember which one that was. But she just painted her kitchen and opened the sliding glass door, and a bird flew into her kitchen, pooped all over her walls, and then flew out. And she said, thank you, Marion. So, I mean, this is typical Marion fashion, right? This is the energy of who she was. She continues to be. So we knew without a doubt it was her. Now, my mother, when she comes through, is very subtle and quiet, so they come in the same way that they were when they were here.
Yeah. Personality really does dictate level of communication that they're willing to give. And I've noticed that over the years as a medium, even if you talk to somebody who's quiet, sometimes you have to remember it's not about the verbalization.
Right.
It's about activating those other soul senses to get information from them, the feeling and the knowing, and you're not relying on the normal verbal forms of communication.
Oh,
So
yes,
those
yes.
of you out there, you can get past the quiet ones. You could the ones that usually just stand to the side. There's always a way to access some level of information from them, and that's where having a good rapport with your spiritual support team can really assist you in that too, because you can say, hey, guys, can you talk to her for me real quick, and see what else you could get from her to provide and communicate. Or else you can always ask who else is with her,
True.
because there'll be other
Right.
people that will maybe want to come to the forefront. It's just like being at a dinner party, and some people are more talkative than others.
Exactly.
So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
but there's a lot that happens with a spirit, even if they're not a talker. Sometimes it conveys on their face what they think.
Right. Or they'll give you a picture of something and
Yes.
something like that.
So there's
So,
hope for the quiet ones. Don't worry, folks.
yes, yes. But what I was sharing before was a sign from them.
Yes.
We're not getting a message, but necessarily we're saying, "Oh, I can't feel them. I don't know what they're." Give me a sign to let me know that you're with me,
Hmm.
or come to me in a dream and wake me up after the dream so that I remember it.
Right.
So that's important. It's important to know the difference between a real dream from them or a dream from your subconscious, because a dream from your subconscious, right, may be scary, or how they passed and they're in a casket. That's not how they're coming. That's not them. That's you trying to resolve issues with them. A true visitation in a dream will feel amazing.
Yes.
You feel like you've won the lottery after you
It-
receive this type
It's
of dream.
very comforting and loving, and
Yes.
yeah, the rest are what I call psychobabble dreams. That's what
I
because you're
love
working
that.
like as you say, you're working through things, and we don't want to assign um that context to spirit communicators, because that's just not the way they roll and the way they're allowed to roll. They're
Mhm.
there for our love and support, to give us that extra boost when we need it. That's what they're there for. And because
Absolutely.
I always say, when it's your turn to pass, you're going to go check in on your people, right? So that's what they're
Absolutely.
doing. They're coming in to visit, which is so lovely. No, I think it's so beautiful, the different ways that spirit communicators can come in, whether they're loved ones that have passed, whether they're spirit guides or ascended masters or angels. But let's talk about your communication that you've had with Wayne Dyer.
Oh,
And so, for those of you who don't know who Wayne Dyer is, you're just new to the Wayne Dyer understanding. Let's tell them first who Wayne Dyer is.
well, he wrote how many books? 50 books.
A
He was an
ton.
inspirational speaker and so forth. He
He came to
was,
Lilydale before, and
oh, did
yeah,
he? I didn't
yes,
realize
he
that.
was
Oh, wow.
he's been a summer highlight, and a lot of people came to see Wayne
Oh, I'm
Dyer here,
sure.
and
Yes.
he was on PBS. He had
Yes.
all those different specials to share with people. Your Erroneous Zones, all kinds of wonderful books, and I
Now, he
really
was
like.
loud. He was very loud.
I liked his book about the Tao Te Ching too. I
Oh,
thought that was
yes.
really a great
Yes.
one. I mean,
Power
he
of
would wake up
intention.
at 5 in the morning in Maui, and all of a sudden he'd be in his little hour of power, and he'd write for what
Yes.
his understanding was of the Tao Te Ching. So he's really an amazing person. That he's kind of up there with Deepak Chopra and Louise Hay and like those kind of folks, just to give people a sense of Wayne Dyer. But then you had your communication with Wayne.
Yes, and I'll make it short because it's
Sure.
kind of a long story, but I was always a fan of Wayne, but I did not know him personally. Everybody asked me that. I did not know him. We were fellow Hay House authors, but I met him. I was a huge fan of his. I had interviewed his daughter. He has 8 children and a wife, and yes, he was still married. Um, Serena. She wrote her book, Don't Die with Your Music Still in You. So 2 weeks before he passed, I interviewed her on
Mm.
my podcast, The Angel Quest Show. So I had her contact information. And after he passed, I just felt the world was not going to be the same anymore. I was devastated. You could ask my family. I was sitting there making dinner. I couldn't believe it. So I knew I had to do something. I didn't know what. So what did was I emailed Serena and I said something like, Dear Serena, I'm so sorry about the passing of your dad. Please know he truly is okay and would want you to be too. Ask him to give you a sign to let you know he's with you. Ask him to come to you in a dream and to wake you up after the dream so you remember it. And, I went on and on about things that she could do. And I said, I'd love to send you a copy of my book. At that time, my latest book was Your Life After Their Death, Medium's Guide to Healing After a Loss. So everything I've learned over the years of doing mediumship and doing healing on people, I said, I'd love to send you a copy if you want. And do you need to talk? I'm here for you. 5 minutes later, I received an email back from her saying she would love a copy of my book and so forth. And she said, I asked her if she received any signs from him yet. And she said her sister Sage had a dream of him. And in the dream, she hugged him and felt his hairy arm. So I said, oh, that's a real visitation. Absolutely. He was there. And that was it. I sent her the book. And then I was scheduled to speak at an event in Orlando with my publisher about that latest book, Your Life After Their Death. And a day before that, they were going to do a tribute event to Wayne Dyer. And they asked if Hay House asked if I wanted to come a day earlier to go to the event. I said, of course. Okay, I'll make it short. So they assigned a bus for Hay House authors, as well as for Wayne Dyer's family, to go from the hotel to the conference center for the tribute. So I'm sitting on this bus, and as I'm sitting down, there's only one other seat available, and it happens to be next to me. And in walks Serena Dyer. These types of things just kept happening. Well, I'm telling you, it's just the craziest thing. So she sat next to me, and she said, oh, Karen, I got your book. Thank you so much. And we were talking. I asked her to make sure to ask him for signs. That was it. I'm not getting any messages at that time. We were just talking. We went to the tribute. Ready to go back onto the bus. And as I'm ready to go back onto the bus, I see the CEO of Hay House, Reed Tracy. I see Wayne Dyer's family and my favorite authors. And in my head, I'm saying, I'm not going back on that bus. I feel so insignificant. I felt insignificant. So I started walking back to the hotel. And as I'm walking, and I'm saying this in my mind, I'm so insignificant. I'm so insignificant. That's when he came through for the first time. And he screamed, get out of your own way. And it's not a voice, as you know, it's not an audible voice. It's a get out of your own way. And I said, Wayne, is that really you? I said, if it's you, give me a without a doubt sign to let me know it's you. And I continued to walk, and I said, how may I serve? Because he often would say to ask the universe how you may serve, and the universe works in ways to serve you as well. And he said, you're already serving. I said, fine, how may I serve more? And I walked back to the hotel room, and as I got into the hotel room, there was something very itchy that was inside my shirt. And I reached in, and there was a sticker that had somehow attached itself that was not there before. And it said on the bottom of it said Disney, but the letters were W-E on it. So I took that to mean Wayne, first letter, last letter of his name. Little did I know it was so much more than that. And then I felt to me, he started laughing, is that good enough? And I was like, oh my God, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. I'll treasure it forever. Here's the, I don't know if you could see it's W-E. I've been carrying it around with me. So I was just thrilled that he would even come to me. Why would he come to me? I'm so insignificant. And every time I said that, he'd say, stop it, get out of your own way. Went home back to New Jersey, and Sage contacted me via Facebook, and we were going back and forth, and eventually he started to come through. So I said, Sage, can I call you? And she said, sure. So I called her, and he was coming through with messages that only she would know, that Wayne would say to her. And eventually she said, could I come in to see you with my sister Serena, my other sister Sky, and my mom Marceline? And I said, okay, here comes the insignificance. Now, I've been doing this for many years, but I never did a reading for Wayne Dyer and his family. So I said yes. So we scheduled an appointment a couple of months ahead of time. I'm booked for 2 years ahead of time, but I arranged it. I was still scared. And I hung up the phone and I started. It seems like I'm always yelling at these people. I yelled at same, all of it. But I did. I said, Wayne, you better come through. I mean, you're your daughters are coming to see me and your wife, and you better come through. And I went out to go for a walk with my dog. And as I was saying that, I felt him and he started to come through. And he was so excited to talk about the afterlife and
Mm.
so excited to talk about the we consciousness, WE, which was on the sticker, the we consciousness. And I'll tell you what that is in a minute. But he said he would be joining forces with a group consciousness called the We Guides. And he would be giving us 33 concepts for the enlightenment of all of humanity and all of creation. But he was also going to come through for his family so that they would know without a doubt it was truly him with messages that only they would know. Nobody could Google, on the internet or anything like that. And so that they would know it was truly him, then people would listen to the group consciousness. When he came through singularly, he would come through loud and in his personality. But when he came through with as the we guides, it would be hard to differentiate him from everyone else because it would be the ascended masters, the angels, St. Francis, and so forth, and so forth. Am I talking too much?
No, you're
I'm
doing
sorry.
great.
Okay, so I'd like to share just 3 messages and then we could talk about whatever else you want to show you how he came through for his family. And here I am. It seems like I'm a talkative person, but I'm shy, believe it or not. And so it comes time for them to come, his family. And I'm saying, Wayne, you better come through. You better come through. And as I'm driving to my center, a car cuts me off and it said Dyer 1 on it. So I took my phone out and I'm trying to take a picture of it. I was so excited. I said, okay, he's coming through. Did you ever take a picture in a moving car? It's kind of blurry, but I have that picture. And
Not advisable.
yeah, but I had to because that was exciting.
Yeah.
And when they walked in, here I am, Karen, I'm insignificant, I'm quiet. And they walked in and they went right to the bathroom. And he's saying for me, tell them to hurry up. And I'm like, I'm not telling them to hurry up. Tell them to hurry up. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I said, I'm really sorry, but your dad's saying, hurry up, hurry up. And then it like his voice just came out of me the way he spoke to them. And Serena said, Dad, is that you? So he came through with messages that only they would know. But one such message was Serena, he kept saying she was pregnant and she had a flat stomach. There's no way she looked pregnant. She just had a baby and everything else made sense up until that point. And then he showed me fireworks, fireworks, fireworks. So I said, and she said, Karen, everything else made sense, but that does not. I said, I don't know. He won't budge on that.
Right.
So she went home and took a pregnancy test, and she was indeed in the family way due on the 4th of July, the fireworks. But throughout for the next 3 years, he would come through. I would be making dinner, 6 o'clock in the morning, call this one, call that one, do this, do that. It was like his energy. One morning at 6 a.m., he said to contact Tracy, that's his oldest daughter from a previous marriage. Contact Tracy now. Contact Tracy now. And I would say, I felt like I was schizophrenic. It's too early. Can I wait till later? No, contact her now. I said, oh my God. So I contacted her. I texted her. I said, Tracy, I'm so sorry. Your dad's here. Can I contact you? And right away, yes, exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. So I called her and I said, before you say anything, this is what he's saying to you, and I hope it means something. And he said, yes, I can hear you, but you cannot hear me. And she started crying. I said, what does that mean? She said, Karen, I just dreamt of him. I just woke up from a dream. And in the dream, I was yelling at him. And I said, can't you hear me? And his message was, at that time, I had to call her. Yes, I can hear you, but you can't hear me. You see, so he would do this type of thing. I'll give you one more and then we'll continue with the interview because there's so many messages.
But he was using you as the relay.
Voice box.
Yeah.
But the best part is how I taught them to do what I was doing for them. And
Good.
to this day, they wrote a book called The Knowing and how they're communicating with him now to listen. And I will talk about that in a minute. I'll just
Please
share
do.
one more message. Um, his son, Sans, we just communicated with, because it usually is with the daughters he would communicate with, but his son, Sans, we talked once. But maybe a year later, I went to the bank, I came back, and on my computer is the email that Sans sent to me, just appeared on the screen. So I said, I guess I'm supposed to call Sans. So, all right, I call Sans, and he picks up the phone. I said, Sans, I don't know. And I explained what had happened. And he said, Karen, I'm on the plane going to Maui. I'm moving from Florida to Maui, and I just asked my dad if I should move to Maui, if this is a good move. And the message relayed at that particular time from Wayne was, go for your dreams. Whatever he said, go for your dreams. At the moment that he asked, he told me to call him. It's just amazing. And, but even more amazing is that every single person listening to this, can do it too. It's not just me. I am not special. We can all do it. We just have to learn how to listen to the messages, right?
Mhm.
We have to learn that it doesn't come as a voice necessarily. It comes as a thought, as a feeling. Do this, do that, and you trust and you listen.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing those stories about your connections that you've been having with Wayne Dyer. I think it's really beautiful how you've been able to, help his family, especially, and that are coming more and more to the understanding that they can be their own best medium, because
Exactly.
that's how it is. You can certainly, with right practice and right intention, be able to access that. So this would be a great point to share with them some of your best tips that you'd like to give them in terms
Yeah,
of making those
sure.
connection with their own loved ones.
Sure. The most important thing to know is that your loved ones are trying to talk to you as much as you're trying to talk to them. So understand that. You're not bothering them. People say, am I bothering them? No, you're not bothering them. Everybody receives messages differently, but me in particular, I feel them as thoughts that I know they're not my thoughts. They just pop in my head for no reason, like these Wayne Dyer, call Tracy now. I know I'm not thinking call Tracy at this moment. Do you know what I mean? And I've learned to trust these types of feelings, this intuition. So what I'm saying is they're speaking to you telepathically as thoughts that just so you were going to backtrack your thoughts. Say you're thinking about your loved one. Backtrack your thoughts. What were you thinking before that? It could be your thoughts about your loved one. Maybe you saw a picture of your mother that triggered a thought, that's you. But if it just popped in your head for no reason, chances are it's then. For example, when my mom passed and I was driving, all of a sudden a thought came in my head. Hi, sweetheart. I don't call myself sweetheart. She calls me sweetheart. And because I do this all the time, I knew it was her. So notice those thoughts that just pop in your head for no reason. That's number one. I would also say to become, as we said before, more on par with the energy of who they are, which is more loving and positive. It's not always easy, but it's well worth our effort. One of the most important things we could do is to forgive, because as Wayne Dyer would say, it's not the snake bite that kills us, it's the venom that's left behind. So we do it for us, not for the person who harmed us. And in so doing, we become more on par with the energy of our loved ones who've passed and the angels and so forth. And there's so many things we could do to raise our vibration, to be kinder, to try to see through the other person's eyes as we're interacting with our living loved ones instead of judging them. We may not agree with what they're saying or doing, but see through their eyes. That's what we're going to do after we leave the physical body anyway. We're going to be able to see through everybody's eyes. So why don't we do it now and create peace? Um, I could go on and on. And other ways we connect with them is ask them to give you a sign.
Mhm.
Ask them. And I call it a without a doubt sign. It's not just any bird in the sky. It's the bird that pecks at your window, or, you smell your loved one's perfume in the middle of nowhere, the song that comes on at the perfect time, or the rainbow that appears on your birthday, and so forth. So ask them for a sign and then be patient and wait, and the sign will come when you least expect it. Ask them to come to you in a dream and to wake you up after the dream so that you remember it. Oftentimes they come to us in the beginning of we fall asleep and then we dream, we sleep, we dream, we sleep, and we don't remember it. So ask them to come to us or wake us up after that so we remember it. I mean, there's so many things, and well, it's just set the intention of connecting with them. And once you set the intention, they're there, right? They're
Yeah,
absolutely there with you.
they are. And it does help to know that while they're not at your beck and call, that's not not just genie, yes, master, about this, but sometimes it takes a little bit of time because they're kind of busy, as it were, and they might be making the rounds, but also we have to be in a state of receptivity. And usually, as Karen's saying, this is when your left brain is occupied, when that analytical mind is busy doing something else, it's being babysat for a little while. It's becomes easier to access you for your spirit loved ones to connect and to bring through those kinds of messages. And it can't always be set. You must give me it in this form,
Oh, no,
right? Let's
right.
talk to them about that. You can't be
Absolutely.
unless it comes in this particular manner. I don't think it's you.
No, no, absolutely not. I would say just give me a sign to let me know and let them do what they would want to do.
Right.
And don't think too much about it. Like don't analyze. It's not our brain, it's our sixth sense
Mhm.
feeling that. It's our emotions, right? It's not
Yes.
analyzing. When I see people in my classes trying to think, does this make sense? It's the opposite of that. It just pops in your head. Just comes to you, right? It's so it kind of is it's easy if you allow it to happen. Um, and also, it's not on demand, as you said. It's not like they're here right now. They come when they want to. They're out gallivanting, they're learning, they're evolving, they're growing, they're right.
Right.
So to
And the
understand,
other part of that is they're wanting to empower us. They're not wanting us to be addicted to their guidance, um, their way of loving us, or their habits. They want us to move forward, live gloriously and joyously in our own lives. So they're not going to try to do things that hold us back or encourage those kind of thought forms. They know that if you really know how to love, then you're going to share that love with others, not just them.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's an amazing journey to open up to spirit and to be a channel in those ways for others. And so often I feel like I'm talking myself out of a job because I want so much for the
Well,
client
you're
to have that
empowering
experience.
people.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. So it's like, no, I really want you to do this. I really want
exactly.
to
I
have
say the
that
same
experience.
thing. Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
it is nice to have somebody else change the oil in your car. It's nice to rely on other people to provide a service for you.
Mhm.
But there's nothing like doing it for yourself and realizing that you already know your people in spirit. As mediums, we're getting to know them within a few minutes.
Right.
And so it's a different scenario of relationship, but feeling that love, as I tell clients and my students, it's so beautiful to feel the depth of love flow through you from
Mhm.
that spirit communicator to the client. And it's oxytocin, whew, flowing freely in those moments. And it's a big reason why we do what we do is to assist that flow of love and communication so that people know that it never dies.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my
And
goodness.
yes, everybody's saying, some people are saying, oh, I don't know, everybody else could do it, but I can't, but they can. It's just like the piano, right? Everybody, if you have fingers, can play the piano. Some people could play scales, other people could play great masterpieces. Everybody can connect with their loved ones.
And
Talk to them, they can hear you, right?
some of it's natural talent. You have a natural proclivity for that. I'm grateful that I was raised in a family where that was supported and fostered, not forced, but fostered very much. It has helped me enormously. But even if you were not raised in a family like that, you have the free will to engage, to fine tune your gifts, to become of even mind. That's an important aspect of mediumship too, is that you be of even mind so that you can really connect in with those other souls
Yeah.
and know that you hold your own space and they hold theirs, and that you come together, and
Right.
that it's a process of learning ultimately. And just as a question, you've connected with Wayne Dyer. Have there been other authors or other people that you have felt that connection with, or has been singly with Wayne?
I've been doing this for over 25 years, doing messages, and I've always been booked 2 years ahead of time with ordinary people. And that's why I said, "Oh, you better come through. I've been doing this, I didn't intend to do this. It just so
Sure.
happened. I think maybe he orchestrated that whole thing. I'm not sure. It seemed that way anyway.
It seems like, and especially because of the Hay House connection
Yes.
and having all of that, the groundwork laid.
Well, what happened is when this all happened, I said, "Wait, why did you choose me?" And he
Yeah.
said, "Why did you choose me?" He said to me, I'm like, hmm. And then he brought to my attention, we both have the same Francis connection
Mm-hmm.
and the love and peace. And the most important part of this whole connection with him was, of course, it was to his family, but it was the we consciousness.
Right.
Because at that time, it's he's trying to explain that we're all connected, but he sees that from where he is now, that we are all one, and whatever we do to ourselves or another affects everyone. And it begins with the peace within ourselves. If we don't have peace inside of ourselves, we can't extend that to other people.
Right.
And this was so important. This was in 2016 when a little bit before that, when he came through, and it was just an urgent message to the world to create peace on our planet. Yeah. But he did that and just say, okay, you'll pay attention to this if you really understand. I'm really talking to my family. When they came to see me, he was so excited to talk about the afterlife and the we consciousness and all of that. But when he said, "Do you want me to talk about the we consciousness or do you want personal messages?" And they said personal messages. And then I felt him go, but he was so excited to share. But
Sure.
of course, he had to do the personal messages so
Yes,
that
it's his
it
family.
was.
He's not on the platform in Lilydale or some other place, being the lecturer of the
Right,
moment. He's
right.
with his family, that kind of
Of
intimate
course,
circle
of
of close
course.
loved ones. So
Yeah. And what's so cute about him? When he spoke at that time, I was just, this has not happened again with, like you said, another author or anything, but they were sitting there and they were, sitting in all different chairs. And when he spoke to Serena, he was very stern. And then he spoke to Sky and he spoke in a different way. They're like, "Oh, you're talking just like my dad did to each one of us." And then
yes,
Sage in a
yes.
different way, and then his wife Marceline. And it was pretty cool. And Serena just kept saying, "Dad?" Like, "Dad?" And coming out of my little body, it was crazy.
Well, and
And then
that's an excellent point, because the way spirit would talk to one person is not necessarily how they would talk to another, and people can have completely different relationships within a family circle, and it's the way it is. And certainly within a family reading, you can't control whether the spirit communicator is going to talk and spend equal time talking to each one. Sometimes they'll focus more on one rather than the others, and
yeah.
that's just the way it is. It's not that they don't love them, there's it's just that for whatever reason, that's how a conversation can go and flow, and so yeah, that's a dynamic that comes with a family session.
And then the people say, "Why is that?" I don't know. I don't know why that happens, but it just does.
It just does. I sit down at the dinner table and just pay attention to how conversations go
Exactly.
and
There you
flow.
go. That's right.
It's like, oh, well, dad's talking to so and so more than me.
Right.
Yeah, about this particular topic, he probably would. And so it's just, I think people forget the dynamic that's at work, because you resonate with who you resonate with. And back to your point of why he chose you and all of that. Well, spirit does orchestrate so much behind the
We
scenes.
are who
I
we
mean,
are
truly,
orchestrates.
yeah, it's like there are stage hands practically that are like, oh, I'm gonna make sure this person are here for this, and they can't control all aspects of it, There's a
Right.
level of improv, as it were, but they do try to put match people together. And I've had people who have found me by all kinds of amazing ways. Like they'll have dreams, and their spirit communicator will say, "You need to talk to a medium named Willa."
Oh, how cool.
And they do the search and they like find me. And other things like that that come to them in those particular ways that are just really unusual and special, and that they get that sign, the beyond a
Without a
doubt.
doubt. Sign.
Yeah,
Without a doubt. Sign.
it's right there. And so that's how this can work. They are not all seeing and all knowing, but they do what they can, and they will convey what they can. But
Right.
we have to be realistic about those expectations. But it's so fun when it blows it out of the water, isn't it? It's just
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
oh my goodness.
You know, and the craziest messages are the best. Like the
Oh,
boxing kangaroos and the Aunt Jemimas, when they come through with that, I'm like,
yeah,
oh, this. In the beginning, when I started getting messages, I like Aunt Jemima, and it's always very specific. It always means something to their loved one, right? So
sure. Like to
crazy.
us, we're like, what on earth? You're like,
Yeah.
I feel stupid saying this in your head, going like, this is
Yes.
gonna totally belly flop. And then they're like, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking
Yes. Yes.
about.
Crazy.
Zero meaning to you personally as a medium. Like
Right.
never have
Do you
talked
know
to
what
your
else?
people.
Do you know what else I find sometimes if, I tend to get the names and everything, but when the name, sometimes it's like I have a son, say, grandson named Jack.
Sure.
So I'm like, they're showing me my grandson. So somebody named Jack. That's how they're telling me their name. Sometimes. Sometimes they just
Yeah.
tell me. I don't know how
It's a
they know.
symbolic representation of this
Yeah.
person to convey that
Yeah.
like a quick and easy shorthand that spirit will use
Yeah.
with
Yes.
mediums to convey the impressions, convey the information, and use the all of the channels within a medium to convey that. It's so beautiful. Any
Hmm.
last things you'd like to share with folks today? We cover a
Well,
lot of ground.
yeah. So to understand, I'd love to empower you to do what I do and what Willa does, because it's not just, we're not the only ones that can do this. We just have to, the more you practice, the better you get, and so forth. We do it all the time, so we're getting better and better. But oftentimes people come to me and say, well, a friend of a friend of a friend feels my mother and I don't. Why is that? And I tell them that the friend of a friend of a friend is not grieving as much as you are. So their energy is a higher vibration. And remember, before I said you have to be more on par with the energy of who they are, which is more peace and love and all of that. So it's okay. If you're grieving, you're grieving. And that's why it's not that your mom or your grandma loves them more. It's just they're more receptive to receiving that message right now.
Yeah.
Another thing I'd love to share is um, as I stated before, after we leave the physical body, we go through a life review where we're able to see and feel how we've affected people. And I really want to bring this to everybody's attention. We will feel that. So why do we have to wait until it's too late to go through that life review? Why don't we see how we affect each person? Try to see through the other person's eyes how we're affecting them. Forgive them if they hurt us. Ask for forgiveness if we hurt them. Treat ourselves with the respect that we deserve as well, because we're just as important as everybody else. And tell your loved ones how much they mean to you now before it's too late. And you'll create peace in your life and in the lives around you as well.
That's a great point. I'm so glad that you brought that up because it is essential that people remember that they're in charge of the energy that they bring to someone. And the more you learn about this, with great power comes great responsibility to have a bit more self-discipline, self-mastery when it comes to those things. And you might as well work on it here when you got the people handy
Exactly.
because you
Why
want to
wait?
be able to do other things. You want to be able to do other things and
Right.
to really know that there's more to learn and grow and be. And spiritual progression is eternal and infinite. And we have however long that takes for us. And it's so beautiful to know that we're in the arms of the divine. And throughout all of this journey, that we can rest with trust upon that. And we have to remember who we truly are, and that we are absolutely blessed to have spiritual gifts like mediumship and healing and other things that help us along this path, along this journey. And the grace that we're able to bring to each other makes the big difference. So thank you,
Absolutely.
Karen. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for being here today. This has been a great show, and
You.
I appreciate all of our viewers for tuning in today. And please get excited about coming to Lilydale this summer. Go to lilydaleassembly.org website and certainly type in Karen Noé on there. I think you have 3 workshops at the end of August, so people can mark their calendars and make sure that they book their guest house, the hotel, whatever their medium of their choice right now, so that they can have the full experience of Lilydale and also learn from Karen. So thank you so much, Karen Noe. We really appreciate you being here today and coming to Lilydale this summer. All right, everyone. I'll see you next week on Wednesdays with Willa.
Bye.
Bye-bye.